So this is my unpacking of squares that I made a long time ago, months, maybe even last year. This is December 2021, so I don't even know when I made them. I had them on eBay, they did not sell, and so I'm actually treating myself to my own squares. At the time that I made the squares, I had not started making afghans, simply because I found joining them horrible. And then I finally came across a technique and the single crochet, joining them with single crochet, and I enjoyed that so much that I am using it. Now the single crochet that I saw, the first one was actually going straight along, and I had wondered if there was a way of actually joining them in a zigzag fashion. So it's basically a zigzag join. I don't even remember what colors they are. There are about 110 here. I will be counting them and then making a diagram on what's the best way forward, so that I must decide what size my afghan is going to be beforehand, whether I would like to ideally get a 3x4 foot one, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough. I have absolutely no idea. So the thing now is to actually work out how many squares I have and then do some maths and see how the rows will be laid out. So let me do that. So the first thing I did was count the squares, and I have 116. Then I measured the squares. I did it in centimeters simply because I'm more comfortable in that. 8.5 centimeters, just for information. It's just under 3.5 inches. So working on a basis of 8.5 centimeters, knowing that I will be losing centimeters when I attach them, but I will be gaining them by working a border. So I'm working the calculations on how many squares I need, as if there was no loss at all. If I work on the basis of 116 squares, then I can either do 9x12 squares, 10x11, or 8x13. They'll be under 116 squares. If I am willing to make more squares, which I am, then I can increase. I can go 10x12 rows, 11x11, 9x13. Yeah, I just need one more square. That's another page. So that's basically calculating how many squares I will need. Then I wanted a specific size, at least a minimum of 3 feet, which is approximately 90 centimeters. And I thought, well, I will be adding a border, so if it comes to roughly 3 feet, I'll be happy. And even if it's 85 or 90, I'll be happy with that. So it came down to at least 10 squares at the bottom. If I go 10x12 for starters, then I'm here. It's 120 squares. I need to add another 4 squares. But what I can do is make more, and for every 10 more squares that I make, I can literally add a row. Ideally, it would be 4 feet, so it'd be a 3x4. Make a nice lapghans. And so yes, so if I'm calculating on this, then I need 120 squares. If I want to add more, then I will need to make more squares 10 squares per row. So we go like that. I will be working in a zigzag, starting with this square down here, and then adding rows, always going in that direction. So I start here, I work across, and I cut the yarn when I get there. So I'll be working like that. When I get to my 10 rows, I'll be working up the side. So I will need to make sure, because what actually will happen is you'll think that the last squares I'm making will be added here. They won't, they'll be added there. It'll be this section here that will be the new squares. So ideally I would be making some squares now, and then they can be interspersed. I do have the same yarn, this white. This is Mariner's Essential DK. It is a little bit thicker than the Mariner's DK. This is the essential one. And the inside of all the squares are a whole variety from different sources. They're not the Mariners. Some are the Mariners, but a lot of them are from other sources. For instance, I know that this one here comes from Aldi. And so does this one here, this thick cream one. It's advertised as a DK, but they're quite bulky. This is a thinner one. I can't remember where this one comes from. So yeah, I'm going to get started with that. Selecting which one I start with is more or less haphazard. I have a selection of 2 rows and 3 rows in color, and I had actually put some aside. They were these ones here because they had not actually been part of the eBay offer, but I just put them in as extras because they have a different makeup. As you can see, they have all these colors, and then this one has a white there, a cream there, which doesn't really work that well, but it wouldn't, in a whole Afghan you wouldn't see it. This one is unique in that it has 2 rows of the same color, and this one was a very bright color, whereas all the others were soft ones. So I won't start with this one, but these guys I could very well use for the corners because there are 4 of them, so that could be quite pretty. So I'll probably start with a nice bright one. I could always make some more and intersperse them. That could be quite pretty. And this one here, I think he will just blend in. So those will blend in. This is the only one with that bright yellow. All the rest are soft tones. So I'll see how I feel about that. And yeah, so let's get started. This is the layout. There's no rhyme or reason. I just picked squares as they were. Ideally I would do it on the bed, but someone is sleeping and I don't feel like grubbling on the kitchen floor today because there's just too many squares, and yeah, it's not at all comfortable. So what I'm going to do is get the old the flower tray. These are my spaces. That's my first one. I'll take that row, put the spacer, just so I know I've come to an end of a row. 1, 2, 3. Hang on, oops. Let me go back on that. Why do I feel that I'm missing a square? My brain's not working very well this week. I'm a little bit absent-minded. Be absolutely sure that the row is finished. Are you thinking, now what did she just do? Yeah, what did she just do? She's completely inverted them. Because I've got 4 3 4 3 2. There we go. I'm starting out like this. I actually don't even know how many squares I have, so I have to be careful I don't lock myself into a pattern. But for this corner, yeah, it says 1 2 3. Yeah, that's right. I need one more there and one more up there. Something did look wrong. Okay, that's a 3. Put this guy down here. One up there. Okay. So when I'm working a row, especially to start off, this will be the corner I'm starting off like this. Then I'd have a 4, 2 3s, the 2s, and then the 3s are going. So here's another way of doing it, is like this. If I laid it out on the bed, then this is what I would do. Put my little papers all the way up, and I start row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and I would have them all laying out, and then I put them in here. This would be full, but it's not at the moment, so I'll just put that there. So now I know where to start. So you see, that's how I do it. I am going to start with, obviously, row 1, take that paper out, and row 2, and this here I put aside. Lovely. I am using Stylecraft Special DK Black. Now I know that this cloth looks a little bit like it's been through the wars. It hasn't. It's just very crinkly. I have all different cloths that I've sewn the edges to, and it's a poly cotton. And then when I'm working, wherever I'm working, I use the contrast color as a very nice backdrop. My scissors out. Put in my lap. Makes things so much easier. Yesterday I tweaked my pattern. I have already uploaded a video on how to end the rows, and I made a little bit of a difference yesterday, and when I sewed it together, it worked very well. This is the video. I don't know if you can hear my neighbors. They're very noisy, despite the fact it's 3 o'clock in the morning. That's London for you. This is the video that I did yesterday or the day before. It's not finished. I did decide to only make two rows of the edge. And this is the same yarn, but this is a little bit thinner, and I just found it was splaying out. I wasn't very happy with it, but it is what it is. I need to buy some other white DK, something that's a bit thinner. So if I am edging a project with a thinner yarn, it will work. So what I had done here in the previous video, I'm not going to do it this time. That's the end and the starts. I'm going to do it the way I did it in this one. And I'm very happy with that. Very, very happy with that. Slightly different. And this is a different, these are old squares as well. These are 6-inch squares. And I just popped them together and made a little quick one. They were actually destined for charity, and I never got around to sending them. Terrible, terrible. But now that I've going to give them a little smile, and now that I've made a little blanket, I'm sure there's a little happy dog out there or something that will be very happy with this. so nothing is lost. So yeah, that's how I'm going to end it. And then when I sew it up, I'm going to use the same technique. Okay, so let's get started with that. It is in black. Maybe not the ideal color for a video. Hope you'll bear with me. Let me zoom in. Zoom in, zoom in. Starting off with a slip knot, tail to the end, to the back, wrap around the finger, hold with the other finger, put the hook. This is a 4.5 mil. That's what I did the squares in. Oops. Go and fetch the yarn, bring it back, drop the loop. There's my slip knot. Pull the tail. I am starting with these two, and in my previous video I actually go into detail. Let me do that quickly. I'll go into detail on how I join the squares. Quick count. So I need to find, for this particular square, it was quite different actually on the other squares, those large 6-inch ones. I actually worked in a different place, but in these particular ones, this is where I work into. My first join, it was going to be there, and my last one is going to be there. This is the V. See the V's there? Those are I'm going to do the single crochet into. The V is to the right hand side. Make the next one. Start off with the purple, and you can see how it's going to go. The V is to the right hand side of that post. I'm going to call it a post. Double crochet to the right hand side, and when I work the squares, I work them back to back. So this is my corner. So he's going to be like that, and he's going to come on like that. Put them back to back, and then you're going to see what's happening. You see what's happening? You suddenly realize that your squares are now lying in a different way than if they were next to each other. I'm going to go through this V and that V after I've started the corner. To start the corner, I go, see, slip knot, I go into the corner space, which is the chain one of a compact square, and into the compact square space of the other one, and I make a single crochet. I'm going to pull this one a little bit, but not too much. This is quite different from my start of my other, the other blanket you just seen. Then I'm going to go in there and do it again, and that's how I'm going to start my row. Because what's going to happen is when I come to sew on the edge, I'm literally going to be sewing into that. I'm going to be crocheting, not sewing on my edge, crocheting on my edge. I'm going to be crocheting into the space here created between those two single crochets. Does that make any sense at all? I hope it does. I know black's not ideal, but the focus is not actually on this yarn, believe it or not. The focus is on these little V's. That's where we're going to be putting all our attention. So you can see where they are. They've got the little, they've got the little markers in them. Take the marker out the front, slip my hook into there, go to the back, take the marker out. Obviously when you're doing lots of them, you know where you're going. You won't have markers. This is just a demonstration, and I suggest that you do it for the first one or two, so you get an idea of the makeup. Okay, pull the yarn through, and pull it through, single crochet. Now that you've established where the first one is, all the rest are going to fall into place. You're going to go into the next V and into the next V, and you're going to single crochet. Don't be brutal and pull it tight, but don't let it be gaping either. You want a nice, steady and even distribution of tension. And you're literally going to work along the row coming to the end. Another V, and here we come the markers. Now once you get used to the design of your squares, because every square is different, this is a compact granny square, you will start to realize whether you've miscounted or not. In this case you can see that I haven't, because the next V is the marker and the next V is the marker. If you have got a problem where you have an extra one, then you can try to find out what the problem is. Sometimes the problem is because when you were making the square, you might have added an extra double crochet in here, which means you'd have 4, or you might have skipped one, which means you got 2, or during the sewing up process, when you closed the row to make these what they call an invisible join, invisible V, you somehow miscalculated, and so you have either one extra or you're missing a V. If that, you can just tweak it. I'll show you in the next row how you can do that. But let's just finish this row, taking out the 2 markers, going in, there we go. So the row is finished. You're now going to go into the corner. You're going to single crochet, give it a little tug, chain 2. Don't make them gaping chains. I just give them a little tug each. You're going to turn and you're going to go, normally you would say, well, I'm going to go back into that. But if you do, you're going to close it and make a little pocket. So now you have your single crochet like this, and you think, well, what do I do next? What you do next is you fetch the next square, because you're not making a pocket, you're making a blanket. You can mark off your stitches, right hand side to the bar. See, now here you can see this is where I sewed closed. That's the end. There we go. If I wanted to, which I probably will do, is if I see that, especially as there's a not very pretty way of finishing it, I'm going to put that on the edge. I'm lucky that I have that choice, so which means I'm going to stitch up on this side, the right hand side of the bar. Not the nicest little stitch markers. I like them, but they're not very well finished off. Look, there's quite rough there. And this one, I'm just putting stitch markers in for you, but I normally would just go straight ahead. So there is to the right hand side of that one, and to the right hand side here got the third. There's my space. The right hand side of the third one. Join wrong sides together, back to back. So now that I've got my 2 squares together, I'm going to go back into that space there for the front and catch the corner space of the new square and pull it through and make a single crochet. I give it another little tug. I like my corners to be quite secure. I can see where I'm going. I take out my markers to the right hand side of this one. I know that this one here in the back, it's 2 there, left hand side, and pull it through. Whoops, lost that marker there. I'm going to work all the way along, and when I come here, that is the edge, and I'll be cutting the yarn. Going into the next 2 V's. Going into the next 2. Into the next 2. Just working away all the way along the top of this. Oh, there's a knot in there. I removed the knot. Coming to the end, I can see that my count is right. I can take my stitch markers out because they are the next ones, and go into there, and the back one is always to the left hand side of the bar, the front one is to the right hand side of the bar. That row has been completed, but this is the edge of my blanket, so I will be cutting this first to that corner space created by the chain 1 when I made the squares. I'm going to make 2 single crochets. I don't want to make this one here tight, and you can't see it because it's black, but I don't want to make it tight because I'm going to be working in there. So I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to pull one more through like that. And I'll be literally working my edge into that, and then I'll sew this away. So I'm very happy with that. And repeat the process for this square and this square, and when we get there, so this is the next row. When we get there, I'll show you how to join the corner. So just rewind the video, start there, you see, when you come to here, you will meet up with me again. So I'm going to push pause, and I'm going to crochet all the way to there, and we will meet up there again. I've got there, but there's a little learning experience. See, I missed a V there. So when I came to the end, my tally wasn't right. My count wasn't right. What's going on? I've got a space here to work into V, but I don't have one there. I have one out of V's. So I turned it over. I just counted my stitches to see that maybe I had made 2 instead of 3 in one of these groups. No, that wasn't the problem. And then I could see I had missed a V just there. See how little he is tucked away? And so therefore I have to pull it out and go and find that little guy. It's probably where I sewed it up. I was a little bit tight with it, and there we go. And now the count will be correct, and I can continue along the way. So here we are. I've come to the end of my row. Join them together. So what do I do now? If you lay the blanket out, one can think, well, okay, I need to get to here. What do I do? This corner needs to join in with that corner. So what I do is I chain one, I will pull the loop underneath this, these chain twos, and then I will chain another one, and then I will start that row. So let's start. Now the first thing before I actually do that, and this is the most important thing to remember, as you can see, I finished the row, but I haven't worked into the corner. There's the corner. And that is vital. I need to do that. It'll look like that. The four corners. So this is the row working along, and that is what the four corners look like afterwards. And that is how they're joined. Go into this corner, go into that corner, single crochet, give it a little tug, chain one, pull a little bit of a loop up, take your hook out, put your hook underneath, chain two of this corner, go and fetch your loop, bring them through, chain one. And now your corner has been made, almost. You need to anchor that corner down. And how do I do that? I'm working into the corner space of this one. I'm working into the corner space of that one. Fetching the yarn. If you want to, and I quite like that, as I like to fetch the yarn the other way around. So normally when we crochet like that. But I like to go around the other way. It basically twists the yarn right into that corner. Because this particular one, I pull tight. Not overly horribly tight, like I've just done. It's a little bit too tight. Do that again. Don't have to use excessive force, but I don't want it to be too loose. So there we go. It's over enthusiastic in my demonstration. Go around, fetch it, and give it a tug. Now I can start my row again. I know that my first one is to the right of this bar, so it's into that V. I know my first one on the back is to the left of this bar, so it's into that V. And once those two are established, I can start my row. And I'm going to be working across the row until I get to the end. I've come to the end. My count is right. Checking that it is my edge. No, it's not. I have one more to make. It's always a good idea to check where you are. So, because it's a new corner, I will be chaining two, opening up the blanket, bringing in the new square, going into this corner again and finding the corner of the new square, single crocheting them together, do it backwards a little bit like that, a little tug, and I have to find the V to the right hand side of the front bar and the back to the left hand side of the front bar. Pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through again for single crochet. And I'll be working across this till I get to the end. I've arrived at the end, just checking that it is the actual end, making 2 single crochets into the corner, 1, 2, and pulling the yarn through and cut. And when I come back later, I'll be working the stitch into there, be like that. Be coming along, making my clusters. When I get to that cluster there, I'll be working in there. You know what? I think I'm actually going to do it right away, just so that it's done. Because this afghan's going to take quite a while to finish, and it'd be nice if it's all in one video. So let me do that. In this video, I am showing how to make a border. This one is in white, but it'll be the same technique, except when I come here, I've slightly tweaked my technique. The first thing is to work out where the squares are, and this is a compact square, so I'm working from the back to the front. Each row, some people call it reverse. They say flip your square over. These squares are all worked in reverse. Each row is worked from a different side, and as you can see, they worked into the gaps. So I'm going to be replicating that. So the first thing is to make sure that I'm working from the correct side, as in I'm reversing the squares. And these are the reverse of the squares. This is just a demonstration. Obviously I haven't finished the rest of the blanket. Starting with a slip knot, and I will be starting the square as if I was working a granny square. It just happens to be a blanket instead of a granny square. Start anywhere, doesn't really matter. I'm going to do a step up, pull this one a little bit, I'll make another one. I can either start with 2 and when I come back I make another one in there, but I'm going to, because I want to make more than one row, I think I'm going to start off with 3. One, 2, 3. Now this one also needs 3. 1. You can see this guy here. Well, you can't because he's black. But basically 1, going in between there, in between the 2 single crochets, fetching the yarn, and then completing that one, and then I'm making another one here. That's what it looks like. It's really awful. So I'm so sorry it's in black. You really can't see anything, can you? That's what it looks like. And the reason I love black so much, and as you are a witness to, is that it hides all errors. It's a beautiful thing to sew up squares with. I'll literally just be working this tail away. But isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Just smooths over. I've made quite a few different joins and I'm very, very happy with this one. So I'll just continue along the row. 1, zoom out again. Up. I'm all over the place. You won't believe it, but sometimes I come back to my own videos to see how I've done something. I do have notebooks. But if I haven't done a square or a pattern or something for a year or so, I just come back and watch my own videos. Yeah, can you believe it? I'm probably the person who watches my own videos the most compared to anybody else. So. 2, 3. I've come to the next join. First one to this corner. Second one is going to be into, so first loop over, go in between those 2 single crochets of that join, pull up the yarn, loop, loop. Loop, loop. I was wondering if I'm making a treble crochet there. It does actually look more like a treble crochet than it does a double crochet. But whatever it is, I am happy with it. So I'm going to just continue as I'm doing, even if it is a bit of a treble. Very, very happy with that. Let's see, go in. 1, 2, and 3. So I'll continue to the corner. I'm now working the corner, which I'm doing exactly the same format as I did my squares. 3, chain 1, 3, 1. I always make these 3 tighter, increase the tension. Otherwise my corners tend to gape. And going on the straight again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Here I am. So 1. Trying to work it whether I'm making a treble or a double when I go into this join here. Go over. It's a slightly different makeup because this is, when I'm ending or finishing the row, it will be different. Got to go between those 2 single crochets, fetch the yarn, whoops, okay, 1, 2, and there we go. It's going to be a little bit different because it's a different edge. I'm going to continue because I want to see how it turns out. So I said I've done this on the other blanket, which was not clusters, so it looked a bit different. It's the first time I'm using this technique on the clusters. I'm going to be leaving this on here. I'm not going to pull it out. There's no need to. I will just cut it, and then when I come to finish my border, I will just pick up where I left off, touch the yarn. Oh no, so one, got to go into that space between the single crochets. That's into that space there. And there. Pull this down for some reason or other. I know this is the part where I ended the row, so it's not the same as when I started. Not the same makeup as the ones where I started. Okay, let me say that again. When I start the row with 2 single crochets, it makes a neater corner. Neater corner, neater finish. Okay, so here I am. I'll be cutting the yarn here. I'll just pick it up when I come to finish that. So, but what I really want to see is how this is worked out. So that's this side, and I turn it over. Yeah, it's fine. So this is where I started. So the first ones I was working on were this is where I started that. And then the ones where I ended were the ones where I ended. So it's a little bit, it is going to be a little bit different. I'm tucking the yarn to the back for some reason or other. It just felt like the natural thing to do. And work those tails away with a sharp pointed chenille needle. It's not a darning, it's sharp. So when I work those ends away, just try and respect the direction of what is going on here. Let me see if I can change the lighting. That's the zoom. Where's the lighting? There he is. Ha ha ha, look at that. Come on, guy. It says he's locked. I don't know why he's saying he's locked. Yeah, he's just going back. But I'm just basically going to work a tail away. I know you can't see anything, but I'm just going to try and work him away. Just going back and forth a few times and not distorting this corner. As I will be working another row, I can work the tail here because another cluster is going to come in there. I love these chenille needles. They bite into the yarn. They really anchor it. I always twist open my fibers, going up into this corner here. Well, not corner, what I call a corner, to the space, because I'll be working another cluster into there. I can go down, and I like to work as far as I can with the tail until I literally run out of tail. So that you know that this blanket can last for many years, whatever adventures it's going to go on. So that has been worked away, and when I come back and work another row, I think it's going to look much better. It's amazing how the black completely changes all this, isn't it? It's absolutely fascinating. Yes, that's lovely. I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to continue with this and see how far I go. Hopefully there will be a show and tell video of when it's done. I'll make a playlist and I'll just put it in there. I'll call this my black edged Afghan. Something like that. I have an Alma Afghan. I have a white edged Afghan. I have a lovely lilac square one, which I haven't put into a playlist. I have a show and tell with that one. It's beautiful. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. I know this is all very long, but maybe you've enjoyed the journey. I hope that you have. And have a lovely day. Bye for now.